Let's jump in. Welcome to the March edition of the Digital Experience Roundtable, hosted by Balboa. Balboa is a Pendo consulting partner. We're the top consulting partner in the Pendo ecosystem, and so work with all manner of small and large Pendo customers. And Pendo actually selected us to be their primary partner for their predictive analytics solution, which is really geared toward customer success teams working together with their product compatriots to help drive revenue retention and expansion. So we're excited to welcome all of you all here today. We have a fun conversation with Maranda Dziekonski and Ziv Peled. If you've been hanging around on LinkedIn and you've paid attention to any customer success content, you've definitely seen these two around. So these guys are industry veterans and really good at what they do. So looking forward to hearing their perspectives on this topic. Let's see, a couple more housekeeping things. Jonathan, you want to go to the next slide? You can go ahead and go past that one. Okay, cool. All right, so we've already introduced everybody. I'm going to have Miranda and Ziv give just a little bit more information about themselves as they kick off the discussion here. But what we're here to talk about today is build versus buy, customer success platforms. It's 2026. Do we need a customer success platform anymore? I'm sure many of you are grappling with this decision right now. And as AI actually fundamentally reshapes all software, the question is, does it matter whether you buy a customer success platform or is it something that you should be building your own today? If you're building your own, what are you augmenting with what you're doing today with AI tools and solutions? So, like I said, Miranda, Ziv both bring a wealth of knowledge to this, coming from a little bit of two different angles on it. But I think it's a good conversation because we're not in one or the other camp yet, right? There's no clear single answer to this question. I think it's very much like it always is. It depends a little bit. So, hoping to dig into the meat of this and really understand some of those factors. So, let's set the stage. Ziv, we'll start with you. How has your thinking about customer success platforms changed over the past 12 to 18 months? And then you can kick it to Miranda when you're ready.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ziv. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at AppsFlyer. Been in the company for over 12 years. I'm managing a customer success organization of almost 200 people. And when I joined the company, we were only seven. Revenue was around 100K, and we crossed 500 million ARR in the end of 2025. I think that AI changed this entire landscape completely from the CRM level to the CSP level. I think that there's a space for CSPs for sure. It's always about implementation and the level of implementation. If you have a good vision and you know what you want to build and you have the right team to build it, then you will succeed with a CSP. I failed in my first time when I bought to Tango. I was a very young VP of customer success. I didn't have the right vision, and I failed in the first implementation. I think that then when you have the right vision, you are able to succeed. I think that you just need to work really, really hard. As you need to work for the CRM, you also need to work for the CSP, and I think it's a lot of overhead. And when a company is at some size, I think that you must build your own some level. It can be different on different levels, but today with AI, it must be the AI level, including the semantic layer and the data below. I would love to say a lot more later. Miranda?
Yeah, great way to kick it off. Hi, everybody. Maranda Dziekonski, Chief Customer Officer at Fexa. Crazy excited to be here this morning just to get to hang out with Jay and Ziv and all of you. So thank you for having me. I am taking a little bit of a different stance, even though I do believe AI is absolutely revolutionary and it's getting better every single day. Who knows if any of us will need even Salesforce or any SaaS products in a year or two, to be clear. Like it is changing the face of everything that we do. So I am unable to predict, but I have some inklings that what I argue today will age quickly. So I have been in 11 tech companies now. I've been doing this for, I think I counted the other day, I'm at 28 years, I think officially 28 years, customer facing type work. And I have worked in Tatango, the early Tatango. I was one of the early customers where Guy Nurpaz sold me personally at an executive roundtable. And I've also worked in Gainsight, multiple time client success customer. And why I tend to gravitate towards client success is I can personally build it and get it up and running usually in 3 days. Like as long as I can get all the connectors working, the push-pull integrations with Salesforce, I can get it up and running and serving the team in 3 days. So that's why I tend to gravitate towards being pro customer success platform. If I can find something that's easy, works, that doesn't require me to have to engineer Salesforce, then I will do it. Now, the caveat is Salesforce data has to be clean. If it's not clean, I can't get it up and running because I have to be able to pull in the data from somewhere, Salesforce or HubSpot, to be clear. That data has to be clean or else it doesn't work. So, yeah, I am definitely on the pro side of CSP, and excited for this conversation.
Well, it's interesting to hear you say that because I'm sure that nobody on this call has dirty Salesforce data. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's not a problem for anybody. But okay, let's get into some meat here. So, what are the capabilities of a CSP that you would normally want to rely on? Like, why do we need, like, what are the capabilities of a CSP that make it attractive in the first place to you, Miranda?
Yeah, there are a few things. One, usually CSPs, not all, but many of the CSPs, they're just cleaner to look at, easier to work with, easier to navigate. I like to pull in all my renewals information, usage, contacts. One of the things that I do like about the current software that I'm using is they have this functionality called Customer Pulses. And what it does is it pushes it to Slack. And that allows me to really bring everybody in the entire organization into real-time information about the customer without having to pay for 80 seats or 50 seats or however big the company is. So they can get like a real-time like Twitter feed rate in Slack of what's going on. There are many other things too, but those are the primaries that I like to have it at one-stop shop for my team and myself.
Ziv, I'll call on you to steel man the argument. I know you've sort of gone in a different direction since Tatango, but like, tell us why, like, what are the capabilities of a CSP that should be attractive to the chief customer officer?
Yeah. So for me, I think so. After Tatango, we built a CSP on Looker and Salesforce, and that forced us to build a lot of custom objects in Salesforce, which is by far maybe the best ever thing I've ever done in my career. Because then when you create a custom object, you force how the data would look like, and it's not for the data entries, for how you then join that data with other data points, especially in Looker. And then that forced everyone to be so strategic about data. Not that our data is clean, but the data that we put in the custom object, for example, the relationships, the significant relationships, forced it to be the worst object in Salesforce is the contact object, and the best is the significant relationship. So, and then we then marry the business desired outcome custom object with the relationship object, with MEDPIC, with the opportunity, with the CSQL, with all of these are then connects really, really well. And then for me now to go from this to AI, I'm AI ready. All the data is including the unstructured data, all the data is ready for AI. And then this is why I'm saying that every company that gets to the level of, I don't know, 500 customers and $20 million should go that route, because Salesforce will never be clean. And you must work really hard for your data. So by the way, that's the shift from this to the next level of AI. The data doesn't need to be clean anymore because AI will clean it. You will have an agent that cleans the data every night. And if the data is not clean tomorrow, then we fire that agent and we load a new prompt, a new agent that will clean the data of the CRM will be clean. And AI can produce the next action and the next things for you, even if the data is not clean. That's what we have today. Again, I will be happy to speak about it later. But this is groundbreaking because a human being is not able to do all these context switches and to have all these data points. And AI is the person just need to know what to ask.
Yeah,
And it's in English.
I would argue that CSPs can do that as well. They are coming along. But there was one thing I did forget to mention about why I love having a customer success platform. And don't get me wrong, you can do this in Salesforce as well. With any level of budget and Salesforce development skill, could we all sit down and rebuild a customer success platform in Salesforce? Sure, absolutely. I tend to work though at smaller companies with very tight pockets. I don't have a CS ops person. I am my CS ops person. So I go in and purchase these CSPs knowing that it really reduces the barrier to entry for me. If I had to go and engineer Salesforce, it would be an absolute nightmare for me. I can stand up a Tatango. I've done it before. I can stand up a Gainsight. I can stand up client success. And one of the things I do love is these tools are purpose built for collecting goals, having account plans, having a list of ROI that you have driven throughout the duration of the relationship. So at the time of renewal, at the time of business review, you have a one-stop shop. You go in and you're like, okay, what have we achieved over the last 6 months? And you have that right there at your hands. Even like tasks, I know that sounds simple, but I have an aggregated spot where I can look and see what tasks are due on each of the customers. So if I have a team member who's has an emergency, they're out sick, we can just go right in, pick up the baton, and keep rocking. Again, I know you can do all of this stuff with Salesforce, but I don't tend to have the budget or the skill to stand up a Salesforce versus just having a CSP.
I must say something, Miranda. I think that like if you can by yourself manage Salesforce and client success, I think that says something about client success that it's maybe a phenomena in the CSP area. Because I implemented Tatango 3 times in AppsFlyer, and it was 3 nightmares. The first one was on me, but the other 2 were on them. And then, yeah, I know that I pushed it. Like, again, for me to implement it on AppsFlyer, it's I needed an account level and then up level under it. They didn't know how to do it. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, look, I implemented Tatango one time. And again, it's a long time ago. It's a very different platform. Actually, no, that's not true. I did it twice. I did it once when Chris Dishman was, I moved from that Catalyst over to Tatango. So I did do it twice. And it was a very different platform. The first time I did it, I had to create a full wiki to map out Tatango terminology to our terminology to figure out where I want push, where I want pull, where all the integrate. I had it was a technical feat. To be clear, though, I'm going to be 47 in a couple of months. I was closer to my 30s then and more. I had more energy. Okay, so
Miranda
I
and I are almost the exact same age. Just
almost to the
wondering.
month.
Yeah.
And I had no problem in my early 30s sitting down and writing out all the technical documentation and doing all the mapping and, that was fine then. That would not be fine now for me. I wouldn't do it. I would refuse to do it. And my later experience with Tatango was incredibly different. It wasn't that tough. They have come a long way. I was able to stand it up, get it up and running. Did it require a more technical skill set than with client success? 100% it did, but it also had more robust functionality than client success. Client success serves me super well for the things that I need, and the purpose-built nature of what I'm looking for.
You guys are generating some interesting discussion in the comments, so this is good. Keep it coming. And Jonathan's going to pick some comments out and read them here over the next little bit. But you're hitting on a really important thing now, and I think it gets into sort of the fundamental strategy of these systems. You have two databases, right? And we're constantly trying to keep them in synchronization. So we steel manned a little bit like why you'd want a CSP, but let's talk about the real data challenges and the real challenges behind what we're trying to do now. If you have sort of these two separate systems that you have to keep in sync with the same exact data. Is that a challenge, Miranda, that you've run across before?
Always. Absolutely. Absolutely. You do have to stay on top of it and make sure that if you have custom objects in Salesforce, that they're mapped over to a certain endpoint in your CSP if you want that pushed over, and vice versa. However, I would challenge folks, do you need to have all the things that are in the CSP in Salesforce or all the things that are in Salesforce in the CSP? No, I don't think you do. So that's where you need to figure out what really is needed and then kind of start out with like your minimum plan and go from there. And I find that what I tend to push over is definitely like contacts. That needs to be push and pull. We got to have a really tight link on contacts. Revenue. We have to have a tight link on revenue. Does Salesforce need to have every single task a customer success manager is working on with a customer? I don't think so. I don't think that the sales team needs that. Now, I will also be clear in adding, I typically own upsell and renewal. So it probably would be a little different if I didn't. If I just owned um, driving the relationship or just driving ROI and I didn't own the commercial motion, this could be a completely different case where the CRO may say, yeah, no, we need all of that here. But that is not usually the model I join.
Ziv, anything to add to that?
Nope.
All right, cool. So as it pertains to leveraging AI in these platforms, every product out there has its AI capabilities being added to it, right? And they tend to operate on the data set that is available to that product. So and by the way, we've always had the need with these kind of platforms and the kind of operational motions that we run in the customer success world. We've always had a need to look across a broad spectrum of data when we think about how to score health, right? How to identify health risk within the customer base across different segments. So how, Miranda, you've done that inside of CSPs, no
Yes.
doubt. Ziv, you're
Yes.
doing that outside of a CSP today. Talk about, maybe Ziv, we'll start with you on this one. Talk about how you're sort of managing the overall health of the customer. And then, Miranda, how does that translate into the CSP world? What's easier or more complex about it than what Ziv is doing today?
Yeah. So interesting enough. So now we have two worlds. We have the Salesforce Looker that is available for the last probably 5 years. And we have an ELF score, but it's not the main thing that we have. So we are serving customers from $50 a month to 200K a month. And then so anything above 80K, the CSM must know and be on top of their customer. So it's not about ELF score. And now with what we have with AI, with Claude, and over an MCP that we've built on top of all the data, then Opus 4.6 knows the health of the account, and it to the level of what was said, what are the quotes of the signal of risk or positive from the last 6 months of gong calls, of emails, of what they wrote in my AI chat, in my dashboard, in my product. So it's insane. We just added Zendesk this week. I cannot go to sleep. I didn't sleep this week, but not because of anything that goes here in this country. I have too many signals, and if you know Claude, then it's like in a second you get a dashboard, and in 10 minutes you get an optimized dashboard that says these are the 10 customers that you, the CCO, should meet. And then you have for the VP level, for the director level, for the CSA, it's endless. I have a new boss.
Ziv, I'm gonna reach out and get time on with you to see what you're doing because as I shared before everybody joined, I just got my Claude Code certification, so I am getting ready to be a very, very dangerous human. So I want to see what you're working on and what you've built.
Miranda's got OpenClaw running under her desk right now. So give it your credit card and your accounts.
As long as I have enough energy to keep going, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, all right. So there's a real, and I'm sort of facing this in my own company as well. There's a real challenge with figuring out how all this stuff gets built, managed, and maintained. Um, I literally I was just talking with my son, who's actually in here listening to this because he's a nerd like us. But we were just talking about all the projects that we have in our brains that we want to do with Claude and with our AI tools. And at some point, you have to actually make some calls on what's important to do right now, and we have to finish those projects. So, Ziv, how have you staffed the effort around this? I mean, I know you're very hands-on, Miranda's very hands-on, I'm very hands-on with this stuff as well. Like, how are you how are you taking what you learn and then applying that to your entire team so everybody has access to these tools?
Yeah. So I think I have to start when we started to build Looker and Salesforce. So we were already big back then. I think we were around probably $80 million ARR. And I had no budget issues back then. So I had someone to lead CS Ops and one analyst. And in the end, I think in the peak, it was probably a team of 12 people that invested in this. And if you think about it, then this is the infrastructure of the entire go-to-market Salesforce and all the other technologies for AppsFlyer. So all the analysts that I hired today, they are go-to-market analysts in one group, serving everyone, including sales, partnership, marketing, and customer success. And it's a huge win because then a lot of these custom objects then went to sales. Today we are maintaining it again with less people over time, but still a good amount of investment. These are the people that built the infrastructure for AI that then as they build the MCP with the help of a few developers from the business side, they built the semantic layer. And in the end, the semantic layer has two main functions today. One is KYC, everything that you want to ask about your customer, doesn't matter where it comes from, Salesforce, Gong, Zendesk, AI, chatbot, email, whatever. And the other side, Intel, is actually marrying this internal data with public data. I want to know what is the business desired outcome of my customer. I want to go to the discovery call tomorrow, and I want to prep for this. This is Intel. And it's crazy. It's crazy. They did an amazing job in the last few months.
So there's a relatively significant team, right? That's building and maintaining these solutions in your organization.
It's not a significant team anymore, but you can say maybe dedicated. If I maybe calculate dedicated, probably there's 6 people dedicated to it. If I marry everything around, and we just went from ChatGPT to Claude like 2.5 weeks ago. We pushed. After a beta of probably 60, 70 people, we pushed all 400 people in go-to-market to Claude. We were ChatGPT before.
Okay, so you have
some capabilities on ChatGPT, but MCP was not scalable in ChatGPT.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good probably lesson learned that could deserve a whole.
The world is moving
session.
to Claude.
It really
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of that's self-inflicted. We don't have to get into that right now, but um, yeah, and then so I think what's happening here is I listened to both of you talk. Like Ziv, tell us how many employees total at AppsFlyer today?
1,300.
Okay, 1,300, right? So we're there. There is a little bit of a SMB mid-market versus larger versus enterprise kind of
Yeah, we
dichotomy.
serve everything. We have free customers.
Well, I'm talking about your company size, not your customers, right? And that's going to dictate a little bit, it sounds to me, how we think about this because it may not be possible for a 100-person startup to build at the same rate as you're able to build, even with six people, right? Now, your ratio is really good. Six people out of 1,300
Yeah.
managing technology that accelerates everybody.
Yeah,
Incredible, right?
I think it's interesting because on one side you can say that we are a large company, but Workday will not sell to us, and in Anthropic in the negotiation, I think I'm one level lower than Longtail, than
Yeah.
like it's crazy, and like it's a seven-figure, it's crazy. So like again, I think that what I said before is when you are getting to 100 employees and you are crossing, $20 million, you should have an analyst. And that job of the analyst, what it was 2 years ago, it's totally different today, 100%. And when you are crossing 100 million ARR, and if you are not building your data warehouse and semantic layer and something with Claude above it, then you are missing, you're behind. It's very clear to me.
Absolutely. All right. I want to dig into one more thing that you said, and Miranda, I think you'll have perspective on this too. So you said that it's not really CS ops anymore, it's go-to-market ops. It's sort of combined. I think a lot of teams, I see Justin shaking his head, yes. I think a lot of people are starting to think about that, which warms my heart because the problem with some of the even back to the data problems that we've talked about are because things are in silos, and that is an inherent risk to the customer experience. It's an inherent risk to revenue retention. There's a lot of issues with creating silos in our organization. So, Miranda, is that a similar shift that you've seen? Is really thinking go to market versus just CS?
I mean, this is an age-old question. This isn't a new problem, right? Like it's been called biz ops, go-to-market ops. Um, and the reality is I see different versions at different companies, right? There's no one size fits all answer for this. And there's still the argument too that if you have a shared resource with marketing, sales, and CS is not going to get the same amount of attention. I hear this all the time as sales. So there are pros and cons to both, but what I will say is if you have a CS ops person and you have a sales ops person and a marketing ops person, they should probably all report to the same person to make sure that it's aligned, even if they are a dedicated resource to make sure you are reducing those silos. But I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I just think that if you have people reporting across the motion, you're going to get fragmented outcomes.
Yeah, in product development, they call it shipping the org chart, right? Which is, do customers feel like they're talking to your organization chart, right, by function, but really their experience is their
Yeah.
experience, which is completely separated from any one division or department within your organization. Ziv, how has it changed? Has it changed the perspective for you all, or is it just natural evolution?
Yeah, and I live that evolution. So my chief of staff over the last 2 years, she done an amazing job. She just got promoted to lead the go-to-market operations of the CBO. So she's stepping up to work with the CBO to manage all the ops of all the go-to-market. So I think that this is the evolution. And again, I think we should actually debate it if it's RevOps or go-to-market ops, because I think that the smartest organizations will go away from calling revenue operations and revenue organizations, calling it customer organizations or customer growth organizations, if they want to make sure the customer really understand what they are up to, or they're just up for their money.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
very semantic, but in the end, this is what the customer hears. And I fell in love with the customer success title. And this is how I explain it to even people internally in AppsFlyer, to our executives, and what I believe. And then I think that, like, if you go to a customer, you say, I'm focused on, I'm your growth partner. I want to know what are your KPIs for this year, and I want to be your partner in those KPIs. How can we achieve those? How many organizations are doing that? By the way, I learned it from Gong.
mm,
I posted
yeah.
about it a couple of months ago, but and I said it also in their all ends a few weeks ago. But bottom line, they didn't want to sell me 2020, February 2020. They didn't want to sell me Gong because they said we're only selling to sales organizations that do new business in the US, and you are neither. And but I was like, oh, so they added a new slide in the presentation, and they said, until you tell us what are your business desired outcomes and how we will translate to ROI, we are not selling it. We're
How
not
long
selling
ago
it.
was that, Ziv? Because I bet that's changed.
It was February 2020,
Yeah.
and I had to go on 3 calls. In the end, I had to convince a VP of sales that they should take my money,
Yeah.
my travel budget for
Yeah.
2020.
Much different days, but I mean, to your point, like it's a really words matter, right?
Yeah.
I've actually thought that customer success is a great term, generally speaking. By the way, like you try to tell your parents that's what you do, they don't understand that. Like, raise your hand if you agree with that, Kimmy Harrington. But like I've always thought it would be great if we named our teams like what it is we actually do for them. So. Ziv, maybe it's a marketing optimization consultant, right? Like call it what it is for your domain that you serve. Yes, it's customer success on your resume, maybe, but in terms of how you introduce yourself to a client. But
Yeah, we used to do that at Swiftly. We had, because we powered public transit, we had principal planning specialist, and we had,
yeah,
I will tell you though, it can create an absolute nightmare on the HR side when you're trying to do salaries and stuff like that. But
of
that's
course.
that's a different
Or
topic. And
yeah,
also, I've had a decade of HR experience on top of everything else, and I just see all of the problems associated with that. But
absolutely.
different topic, different
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to take us down a rabbit hole there for sure, but it does get into the area of, or sort of this world of like, what is the impact on the teams? And we talked a little bit about this in our pre-call, our prep call for this discussion, but like, how are you both looking at your teams and who is, without giving any secrets away, right? But how are you looking at who's coming along for the ride with this stuff versus who's not, right? Because I think what we're seeing is the people that are actually leaning in and leveraging, even if it's just Claude that you've given them and it's minimally connected to your contextual data, we're seeing people 10, 12 times more effective and able to do 10 times more than they could just 2 years ago. I myself am feeling that. So how are you evaluating your teams relative to the tools that we expect them to use, whether it's a CSP or whether it's these more, agentic tools that we're putting in their hands?
Yeah, so a few months ago, we actually, launched AI within the walls. It was probably, I don't know, probably August, maybe July timeframe. We spun up ChatGPT, gave everybody ChatGPT, and we had, a competition within our walls to see who could come up with the coolest custom GPTs and things like that. And now we're slowly moving our team over to Claude because there's more functionality and exploring what Claude Cowork, you say that 5 times fast, it's hard. Claude Cowork can do. And specifically within the customer success organization, I own, of course, CSMs, support, solutions architects, and the implementation motion and, the professional services arm. This last week, what we're doing is mapping out all of the things we do, all of the things we think we can solve with AI, and putting like an impact effort level on it to prioritize what we plan to build and develop. That doesn't completely answer your question of how people are being measured. However, what I am going to say is folks didn't have access to the tools to really build the skills until we've opened up this Claude co-work. Now it's time to see who steps up, who takes the lead, who runs with it. And it's a level playing field, right? We're all kind of at the starting place together, and it's good. It's going to be interesting to see who rises and who creates and who doesn't in general.
Ziv, what are you doing there?
I have a few things to say here. First of all, I think there's an adoption issue globally in all. Like, I think that people adopt AI very slowly. I think in customer success, I see a lot of individual contributors, but not limited, adopting AI very, very slowly. And I think it's an issue. And we had, I said before, we had probably 18 months of ChatGPT, and now we're starting Claude. And I look at these metrics. I have full analytics of everything, and it's a big issue for me. The ones that adopt, they're becoming superhuman, super. It's more than superhuman. It's and I'm becoming a superhuman. I will say about myself, like I'm not good at taking notes in meetings. I'm not good in summarizing, and I'm really bad. I'm the worst in follow-ups, and I'm now 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. So like I I have a call with a VP of marketing of a huge company, and then I prep for the call with Claude. I record that call and I push it back to the same chat. I have another call with him, and then I update him on Slack with the deliverables that he asked for from product. And I update two teams in different geos about because it's three companies, one mother company and two daughter companies. And then like I was never close even to that. And the fact here is that Claude is getting to the right points in the discussion that maybe even I didn't catch.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
that
That's
there's
right.
different, oh, I think there's different levels though of use happening from what I'm hearing, what you're saying, Ziv. Like there's the I'm using this as a note taker and a follow up and follow through. I'm using this to augment humans as like the next level. I'm using this to displace human labor is like the level after that, or some version of that. As a matter of fact, like I reached out to Justin Chapel, who's on this call, because I hope I can share this publicly, building AI agents, and I want to learn how to do that. I don't want my customer success managers worried about the long tail. I want them focused on we are B2B enterprise motion, high touch. I want them focused on the things that aren't what I would consider housekeeping items, which is probably where all of the CSMs right now and folks in customer facing organizations spend the majority of their time. So I'm trying to figure out how do I build an AI assistant that can follow them around? How do I build an AI agent to take care of this long tail so they never have to touch it again? How do I build a support agent that I can plug into the database because we're a very customized tool and it can look every time a customer reaches out and give a snapshot of what the configuration is and so on and so forth. So right now, we're doing all the intermediate, that's the word, things well. We're using chat. We're, taking meeting notes. We're getting our action items. We are, all of that stuff. It's the next level that I think not just our team, my team, but quite frankly, the industry, customer success as an industry, I think we're just not moving along that maturity curve super fast. Every time I do a post on LinkedIn asking, what are you building with AI? It's like crickets. I post a picture of my headshot that I got and it blows up. I'm like, okay, so this is telling me something.
Yeah.
This is telling me something. We're, I think we're struggling maybe a little bit as
Yeah,
an industry.
this is where I think we all have to start thinking it like consultants. You have to actually dissect. You have to first understand what your teams are doing on a day-to-day basis, begin to dissect it, and to figure out which pieces can I help with immediately
Yeah.
versus which one I need to worry about. It gets back to that project list, right? Because you can do everything and you can do nothing if you try to do everything. I
Yeah.
want to hit a couple of
Jay, on
questions.
that, Jay,
Yeah,
on that,
go ahead.
I started to ask a few CSMs to record their entire day with screen share and voice, and then we are analyzing it now, and we are Claude is for the development team and the analyst, and for me, Claude is saying what can a full agent replace and save the time of that human being to do other things, what can be co-piloted assist, and what must be human.
I
And I
would be
think it's
so embarrassed to do that because you all would see how many times I Google how to spell this word or how do you spell this? Is it I before E except after C? Like that would be like my day.
but then Claude will build a Chrome extension for you,
Yeah.
predict that, and will give you the word with the right type.
That's right. I forgot you had told me about that. I mean, like that's what we've got to do there, right? So the these tools, it's sort of like a rabbit hole. You start thinking about one thing it can do for you, and then you go all the way down. You're like, man, we could analyze what we need to know about how we do the work with AI so
You
that we
get
can
to China. In the end, you get to
yeah, yeah,
China.
that's right. That's right. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth saying that this is all about getting like all these faces I'm looking at, these are humans, like we're interacting with each other. If we can do this more, like Ziv, I don't want you writing notes in a meeting, right? Because I want you looking at me and
Exactly.
hearing what I'm saying and communicating and helping me understand. And by the way, like we can then take those transcripts and build lots of content and do lots of downstream stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, totally, totally agree. So, a couple of good questions that have come in. One is like this is all not free, right? It's part of the reason that the CSP conversation to me is important because there's cost associated with it. Obviously, Salesforce is expensive, headcount's expensive. What have you had to do for like where do you free up budget to go make these investments? Is that a consideration for either of you right now?
Absolutely. Always is consideration.
What would you give
However,
up? What would you give up?
to have a CSP, what would I give
What
up?
would you give up to have the tools you need? Like, what is the thing that I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit?
Head count. Honestly, I would give up head count. Um, Not current, but future. To be clear, just in case my CFO hears this. Um, but with all due seriousness, I would give up headcount because if you have the right tool stack, whether it's CSP, not CSP, whether it's AI, not AI, if you have it, you do it right, implement it right, it's going to help you gain efficiencies across the board. And it you are not a smart leader if you are continuing to throw humans at problems. You have to figure out how to leverage technology these days, because human capital is very expensive.
Ziv, anything to
Yeah.
say?
So I would start with what I would not give up. I would not give up a travel budget. I'm actually I'm increasing travel budget. Everyone should go out and meet customers.
I agree.
On the other side, uh, I would say also something personally. If currently I'm specifically as an executive, I have a $200 Claude budget. But if the company would tell me that I have 40 a month, I would pay personally to have more. And I think that I cease to think like that. I don't want them to budget, but I want them to think about it like that, because my CEO says it in the worst, most extreme way. He says it since early 2025. He says like first dollar goes to AI, and then think about if you have a dollar for the new computer for the employee. AI first.
I love that. First dollar. Everything else comes second. And I like not replacing the travel budget. It's
Yeah.
key. I had a call with a good friend of mine who runs a company the other day, and he showed me the dashboard that he created which looks at his team and their activity. And one of the key metrics on that dashboard was the number of tokens used by each of his team members. Let that sink in for a second. So when you think about KPIs for who's making it and how these tools are impacting the work that your team, Miranda, has to do, Ziv, that your team has to do with all of your customers, how do you think about KPIs? And then we'll probably start to cut this off in about 5 minutes, but I think we're gonna definitely want to do some follow up here because there's a lot of great questions in the chat as well. So KPIs, how do you think about that for adoption of whatever the platform is?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I
I
insist.
think you need to go really, really deep on KPIs and adoption and metrics. I spoke to our VP engineering yesterday, and we spoke for 15 minutes, and I told him in the end what I think should be a good a KPI for AI for engineering. And I'm writing a post about it. And then in the end of my research, it's the number of lines of code you removed with AI divided by the total lines of code that you added with AI. And I think it goes to all positions in all things. Like, it's what you were able to clean from your day with AI versus all the things that you are now doing with AI that you are doing best. And I think it can go to any profession: sales, CS, analyst, ops.
Yeah, I agree with that. And for customer success, we're not doing this yet, but I want to be able to measure that you are spending more time with the customers, more time talking to them, more time with them, that I'm, instead of it's like 30% of your day is on with customers, it's now 50, 60, 70% because AI is handling all of the other things. Like that is the most important thing you can do in B2B enterprise is making sure you are driving value, ROI, outcomes, you are acting as a consultant to your customers and being that partner. On another note, I will say if you all are not listening to the YPO technology debrief on Spotify, it is a like 10-minute everyday snapshot of what's going on, the latest and greatest with AI. This last Saturday had a fantastic episode where it talked about the evolution of what will be valued in organizations. Like it used to be high SAT scores, you can, engineer, you can do, analytics with data, those types of things. Now it's going to be shifting to people who can see around corners, build relationships, have empathy. So it's going to be really shifting. And those are the metrics we should be measuring in the organization to see how well we're adopting AI.
Awesome. Okay. I've got one sort of final wrap up question here for you, but I would love to have you guys both on the Chief Customer Officer podcast just to do Q. I mean, there are so many questions and
Of
comments
course.
here. Like, we got to do some follow up on this. And by the way, the sign of a good webinar is if people stay the whole time. And almost everybody seems to have stayed the whole time. So kudos to you, Miranda and Ziv, for the healthy conversation here. If you each could give some advice to folks on this call, leaders of customer success, chief customer officers, revenue leaders of any sort, operations leaders, what would it be? We'll sort of bring it back to this question of how to think about the customer success platform versus AI tools or in conjunction with them together. Miranda, I'll let you
Yeah,
lead off.
yeah. Like there's no one size fits all answer here. If you go with a CSP, don't go with a CSP. If you double down on HubSpot, Salesforce, like you need to do what's right for your organization and the team you have available and the resources you have available. I will say, however, if you are not in AI right now playing, and I'm not talking just asking ChatGPT what color shirt you should wear. I'm talking like really getting in deep, you are going to be behind and you will be displaced, period. So get in there. I took a Coursera Claude code course. There are so many tools out there. You should be doing that right now, to make yourself marketable, quite frankly.
Even as a leader, Miranda?
even as a leader, especially as a leader.
Especially.
That's why I took the Claude Code course so I could understand, is this right for my team, right? I get my hands dirty. I get into the weeds. So yes, even as a leader, even more so as a leader, because if you don't understand what your team is experiencing, how are you going to lead them through this revolution?
Great advice. Ziv?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, I said many times all over the years, hire the right people. I think you need to look at your analysts and your CSMs, and then I believe you must have the best team. Like, so in this time, it's definitely the early adopters, the deep AI people that doesn't go to sleep because of the next thing, and then they trigger you, they bring things, they push you, and then I feel that for the last 9 months, I feel it like if you want to win your team, if you want to drive adoption, you need to be hands-on leader, and then especially if you're capable, then you can push them from the front, like pull them from the front. But yeah, it's like it's a push and pull. Like one day you are ahead, one day they pull you, etc. I think that's great. And by the way, I just thought about it, and I will push my Zoom link after this, and then whoever wants to go to my Zoom link, and then I will try to show some of my Claude without showing confidential data. So whoever wants to see, because I thought about it, a few people asked me, and then like, I don't have time next week. So like, if anyone wants now, when I'm still in the office and I don't need to go home, I'm pushing it now.
I would, but man, I got a red line of contract.
Yeah, cancel it.
There's an agent for that, Miranda.
I know.
Okay, well, guys,
By the way, I do contracts now in 5 minutes.
Oh,
I know. I haven't redlined a contract with an external counsel in about the last year. So sorry to my legal friends.
goals,
But
goals.
those teams are not laying people off. They're utilizing them in more strategic ways, right? Than red lines against the standard. So
More litigation.
yeah, right. Okay, well, we're
Here's
gonna
my
wrap it up.
link. I will
Okay,
be available in 5 minutes.
awesome. Thank you for doing that, Ziv. That's exciting. I'm going to join as well. I might listen to the background, but if you all are going to be, I don't know how many of you will be at Gainsight is still doing Pulse. I think it's going to be in Vegas this year, the 27th and 28th of May. We're going to be there with our friends from Pendo. And we've got a little event that we're planning that week. So if anybody wants to meet in person that week, we'll be sending some more details out about that. That'll probably be on May 27th. So pencil that in on your calendar, especially if you're planning to go out for that conference, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. We will send this recording around. Everybody always asks that question. Yes, it's being recorded, and yes, we will share it. So thankful, Miranda and Ziv, for your time, your energy, your passion for this, and thank you to everybody for all of the great comments. We will certainly be doing more here. We'd love for you to continue to join us next month. We're going to be doing a little bit more of a B2C focused digital experience roundtable, and we'll send you details on that. But appreciate all the insights, all the content. Hope you all have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank you
Ziv, I
so
might
much.
actually bring my entire org to that link right now. I just realized
It's gonna be bigger than this.
it's my department meeting. So I'm going to hop into my department meeting and then tell everybody to join so they can see what you're doing with Claude. Sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah, I'm now trying to understand what I will show. Not good.
Just so you know, my department is 14 people. It's not
Okay.
like I have thousands like you.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All
See you
all
right.
soon.
right.
Thanks, y'all. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye.